morning, Alp. I'll be your electrician for today. The sun's out. Clouds over Pisa though. Snow is dumping, but not at sea level. Let's just do this for starters. Good morning, Speedo. How do you do?
That's it, it's a sound. Doesn't matter that it's starving on fuel, that's it.
So that's the problem right now with the bike, and it's still that low rev spit that I had when I was still riding around New Zealand a year ago, and that after the engine overhaul. So what's going on there? It's really, you can almost resonates to it. It just goes like pss, 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 in the engine somewhere. So what's failing here? And it's in a low rev, especially when you're going 2,000, 3,000, and then you lose power. Something is not going well there. So especially when you're gearing down in the second or first gear, and there's the ride isn't fluent, and that really sucks. So what could be going on there? Oh, engine rebuild. Something, almost like something's failing, signal or in the ignition. I don't know. Right, so I almost wanted to take the tank off, but I still got to play with the RPM because there's some settings. So I timed it perfectly with a glorious visit to the toilet to read up on the rest of the manual. And so now I'm going to play with the RPMs. Had a look around online, and then someone mentioned that when it was on the left-hand coil that the readings were the best. I can imagine that. There's something about with the CDI, I don't know exactly what the science was with this, but there's a primary one. You switch them around, but one cylinder is leading over the other. So the one that's hooked up to one makes it the leading CDI, so maybe it gets the leading CDI, sends out a signal. The signal that comes from the leading CDI to the coil maybe is the most reliable. I don't know, it's just theory in regards to how this might work. But they talk here about something else, which I'm going to find out how to work it. So yesterday I was talking about making a bridge with a wire and a switch, but then I realized, wait a second, you need some pretty decent wire. I have the wire, 50 amps, but still more than 50 amps can go through there. But the switch is only 15 amps, so I don't think that's going to work. Though, would it matter for a few seconds? I could try and find out. You know, maybe a couple of seconds of getting the starter engine going won't melt everything. That's the P values they were talking about. Flywheel rotations, maximum. This matters. Alright, I switched to polarity. On low, negative. Maybe the wires, I got it on the wrong one, but it doesn't matter because you can just change the setting. More erratic behavior, that's a good start. I can live with that. Nice.
Look what I caught in the act of. Almost falling out. Hello there. See how troublesome that chain guard is? I gotta Loctite that again. Now I'm just gonna get the nut off and Loctite that.
Alright, I crimped some of the bullet connectors a bit extra, so I'm going to disconnect all of this. I'm letting the header pipes cool down because I got to disconnect the other fuel line, which is right over the header pipes, so I can remove the tank and I can rewire this section here and amongst a few things. So like I said, remember talking about things I wanted to redo? Amongst them is
part of the wiring loom that needs to go on top of the frame, so I gotta disconnect the rectifier too and replace it with the new one, which might need a bit of work too. Get that right.
Holy shit. I think the voltage meter was trying to tell me something. Look at this. Coming off the regulator. This is the section that goes to the, of course, comes from the alternator. So who's been bad? Batteries seem to be charging. The plugs might have been very oxidized down south because we're near to the coast, and with the salty air. Let's just assume that the plugs were really dirty. I did give them all a bit of a scrape, but still, that's just my first thoughts. Hope nothing too serious going on here. I'm gonna change it up, see if I can replace. I might not have a freeway plug though, but we'll see what we can do. Also, a few of the wires. One wire here seems to come out of the slot on the cable. I don't know if that of the plug. I don't know if that's me messing around with it, but something's definitely not right in the regulator area. Christ. Well, the plot thickens here. So I wonder how this whole situation influences the solenoid. You know? If it's separate from each other or connected, and that's why I haven't been able to start it. Yeah. Those wires weren't really well connected in that plug anymore. The green one also came out, the side stand override. Nice and tight from powder coat. So here, these wires will letting go. Fly. As Grant would say, chop chop. It has melted together on the inside. Don't have them, but I did find a 4-way plug in the garage, and it's a Sunday. Everything's closed. So I just might switch the tabs on the regulator, the terminals, right, they call it, around, put them in a 4 plug, and at least we can hook them up again. This is a bit becoming the weekend of solving alternative problems. You know what would be really cool? If it all was somehow connected to all the trouble I've been having. Starter trouble, ignition trouble, and lower revs for some reason. One can hope that something was shorting. Hopefully nothing is broken. The battery charges, you know. I hope the reason for the short was nothing serious. We'll have to find out. Let's see if it's compatible with these. The original seems zinc plated. These are gold plated or whatever. Yep, this will slide in there. Sweet. 4-way connector. Shit. I didn't pay attention how they came out of the plug. That's important. With this one you can still kind of see it due to the shape, because one is horizontal. Okay, not so much for this. Okay, I can Sherlock these a little bit back into place. So one tab I managed to get out, so the longest, the one who's the longest, that's it, is the bottom one. And then it's between these two.
Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
Karen's getting me some shopping because I'm going to be grounded for a bit longer than expected with the bike.
Mind you, she was already going to the shop. I'm not sending her out there. Anyway, who's back in the game? Oh yeah. So I ended up on a Goldwing forum and Honda, so it's all similar, isn't it? Good thing, doesn't matter how the wires connect. Excellent news. Other thing, one guy here explains 3 tests you can do. Resistance test, voltage test, amperage test. Sweet. Now I can play around with this. Look at this madness here. Burned connectors, not happy about it. But now I'm a little bit excited about being able to do this, which is strange. I normally just want things to work, but this is pretty cool if I can play around with this and figure some things out. Ask me again in an hour though. How happy I am about this. See if I remember this correctly. I'll put it on like, no, I want to register volts. I'll put it on 20 or so. See if I get what I want. Hello? 12.9. 13. Healthy battery. That's good. So the Koso has an internal voltmeter too, by the way, which is great, which will warn me too, alongside the one I already have there, which I haven't been listening to. So a resistance test, so he's mentioning. I think ohms is resistance, right? To measure each yellow wire to the bike frame, you should see infinite ohms. Ohms is resistance. Do remember something from high school. Reading up here on the resistance test, this should show 0. You have to measure all the wires with each other. English sounds terrible what I just said. Test all of the combinations and it should read the same. So between all the wires it shows on 200 ohms 1.1, 1.0, yeah, 0.9, 1.0. So, and that's on all the wires. So they should all be the same. So all the combinations give that. So that's good, I guess. Okay, so that's about the only test I can do, because the voltage test, the bike needs to be running. 3 combinations and they should read 45 to 60 volts. That's on a Trill Wing, on a Gold Wing, by the way. Don't know if it would be the same here. And amperage test. Again, the bike needs to be running. So resistance seems to be good, whatever that means. I was excited to crimp terminals, but you need a different kind of crimper for that. This one won't work, so it's back to my unfailable method of pliers. You know, maybe I'm enjoying this because I feel in control. There's a goddamn burned plug, which looked horrible, which before would have sent me in complete disarray. A burned plug, my life is over. I don't know how to get this bike going. And just that peace of being able to work on something and with the hopes of actually getting a good result, it's just very comforting, I guess. But yes, yeah, doesn't that apply to everything that you do in life, which is unknown, and then you try it out? You might hate it because you suck at it. The less you hate it and embrace it, the better you become, and quicker, it seems. Anyway, with this process, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. I might not solve it, but maybe I do. Alright, sweet! Let's plug these in. Don't you love her madly? Come on, let's get in there. Here we are. Beaut! Now you guys can be friends again. I hope that a mismatch between terminal material isn't an issue. Right, so this pretty stiff cable has to come our way from under the frame, with very little space, and the airbox won't really budge because everything's hooked up to it. Alright, this moves it a little bit. I might even have to get the coils off. Jeez. Alright, I have to undo the earth. So I was considering the ignition coils at the front too, but I figured this area catches a lot more water than this area here. So just to keep this plug nice and dry. Alright, does anyone remember if I was high back then? Because I don't think I was, but when I look at this image here, it still looks like the cable went underneath exactly how it was. What was my rationale for this? I just have to redo everything that I just did and undo it. Okay? I don't know what happened there, how I reached that conclusion.
I certainly do love doing things over again.
Blue right. Orange left, blue right.